own goal for some of these goalies. Give me both teams to score in the first period. That's coming in at plus 185 compared to the over 1.5 that is at minus 120. Okay, you guys ready? Let's make some frickin' money. It's time for Pocket with Jo.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday, Jo here at SportsGrid. It's time for Pocket with Jo over here on SportsGrid TV. I hope everyone's morning is starting off fantastic. Happy Saturday, you guys. We've got a loaded slate out there. We got to go over each and every single one of those games. Kev, good morning to you. Happy Saturday. So we're going to fly through these games and we're going to do the recap at the end of the show. We're going to start off here with the first matchup between the Chicago Blackhawks and the New Jersey Devils. Now, when we look at this matchup, we do have a goalie coming in here for Chicago that did come out in relief versus the Isles. Drew Kozmesko is confirmed in net for Chicago. Now, versus the Isles, he only faced 2 shots on net. It's hard to think that he's going to be able to stand really tall in the pipes versus the New Jersey Devils. The New Jersey Devils, we know how strong they are offensively. And when I looked at this line, I wanted to take Chicago. I wanted to find a reason to back Chicago. You guys know I love looking at the dog, but I just can't get there. The New Jersey Devils are such a strong team, but there's no value. They're a $4 favorite in this right now on FanDuel. So your value is on Chicago, but I just don't think they can get it done. They're plus 310 on the money line, plus 1.5 on that puck line, plus 122. Now they do have strong trends being able to cover that puck line. So I understand if you're wanting to jump on Chicago, I just can't. What I'm hoping happens in this one is in this game, at some point, we're able to get the New Jersey Devils at better value on that puck line because minus 1.5 on the puck line is minus 150. So it's out of range. It's not bettable for me to take them laying the 1.5. Now, could we take the old puck line laying 2.5? Absolutely. We could see a 4-1 win here for the New Jersey Devils. Drew Kozmesko coming out here for Chicago. Yeah, in relief for that game versus the Isles, he faced 2 shots and he saved both of them. I think the Devils are really going to hit him and hit him hard. You could look at the Devils team total to the over as well. I think that is a strong way to go. That team total 3.5 though, but again, you got to lay juice on their team total even to the over. They're off that 3-1 win versus the LA Kings at home. They got a road trip loading here. They've got the Blues on Tuesday and the Columbus Blue Jackets on Thursday. So not a big, huge look ahead. They won their last 5 as a favorite versus Chicago as well. So they got strong trends versus them. We have seen Chicago cover the puck line in their last 5 versus the Metro, but I'm not buying it. I really am not. Dougie Hamilton has scored the first goal in his last four appearances with the Devils as a favorite against the Chicago Blackhawks. So if you want to look at Dougie Hamilton for a goal tonight, I like it. If you want to take him for the first goal, you're getting that at like plus 1,800 over on FanDuel. Dougie Hamilton has shown us that he can score that first goal. Again, 3 of his last 4 appearances versus the Chicago Blackhawks as a favorite has been able to get it done. Devils win it by 2. Yeah, so that's the thing, right? You're looking at that. It's like 4-2 style win here. So that does keep us under the total if you guys want to look at it that way. And I do think the under is a strong position. The under 6.5 at minus 124. Your only risk there is if the Devils get that empty netter in that situation, which does scare me a little bit. So the under 6.5, probably your best way. I do like the puck line, but again, minus 150, I just can't bet that. The LA Kings facing up with the New York Rangers is the next game on deck. This one has a total of 5.5, and I am going to take this under the 5.5. That's coming in at minus 104. Now, when we look at these two teams, this is basically a pick 'em here in Madison Square Garden. We got the LA Kings rolling in at minus 106 and minus 113 here for the New York Rangers. I trust the Kings defense. I really do. This is a defense that can lock down, and I'm counting on that defense to lock down the New York Rangers. at home in this one. We've seen the Rangers be able to cover the puck line in their last 4 versus the LA Kings, but in some of those games they have been dogs. So they play tight games here versus each other in a lot of these cases. You know, we've seen that cover, but there's been empty netters, those kind of situations. So they've lost the last 4 of the Kings in Madison Square Garden. So the Rangers do get the wins here versus the Kings. The problem is we've seen movement in the line. So they were minus 140, minus 145 kind of favorites here. The Rangers, this line has gone down. We were getting so much value in the Kings. I can see the Kings winning this in OT. I think the Kings, even though they've struggled in Madison Square Garden, win this one in a 2-1 style, lower scoring game. I still don't trust the Rangers. They've been going through so many struggles out there, and I just can't get behind them in this one. They're just not looking good. Panarin is leading this team. He's doing a good job, but otherwise, it's got to be the Kings for me. I think the best bet is the under 5.5 in this one, you guys. Let's make some freaking money today. So, yeah, Kev, I'm with you. It has to be the under and with a sprinkle on the money line there. The Kings defense is just one of the best in the league. And I think against this Rangers team, they're going to be able to limit those high danger shots on Darcy Kemper, who's expected in goal for them tonight, and really hit Igor. So it's got to be a game where Igor and the defense here of the Rangers know that they have to play solid as well. So I would look at the under. I think that's the best bet, and I think the Kings have every possibility of breaking that trend of struggling in Madison Square Garden. Okay, I think we have another game where we could see an upset here on the road. The Philadelphia Flyers, can they beat the Minnesota Wild? The Wild, off that terrible loss to the Edmonton Oilers. What the heck were they doing? Allowing 7 goals to the Oilers, only able to put up 1 themselves. Just a pitiful one. And yes, I had money on the Wild. That's why I am so frustrated with it. Now, they're minus 164 favorite here at home, and it's plus 136 for the Flyers. I'm taking a shot on the Flyers in this game, you guys. I do think the over 5.5 is in play too. That's coming in at minus 124. If the Flyers are to win, I think it's because it is a higher scoring game. We're seeing the Wild struggle in the faceoff. They're not able to win those faceoffs, and their defense has been allowing these goals to come in. So over their last 3 games, allowing an average of 5 goals per game. Now, the Flyers here with Urchin confirmed, he's going to have to stand on his head because we know this Wild team has the playmakers. Kaprizov is able to find the back of the net on the regular, but I think the Flyers will be able to hit Marc-Andre Fleury, who's confirmed in goal tonight for the Minnesota Wild. Like, the defense here of the Flyers has been struggling as well. They've been allowing an average of 3.8 goals per game in their last 5. So we have seen them allowing those goals to come in as well. So I'm looking at the Flyers. I'm looking at the over. The Flyers have been strong on that puck line on the road as well. 7-0 on the puck line. Again, there's not enough value here for the puck line with the Flyers with how short of a dog they are. But I do think if the Wild go up, it would be a nice situation to come back in on the Flyers plus 1.5 just to give us that 1 goal. But I'll go ahead and take the Flyers here. You also look at the Wild and who they have on deck. And who they have on deck tomorrow, the Vegas Golden Knights, you guys. So I love fading hot teams like the Minnesota Wild, who haven't been so hot as of late, of course, losing that game to Edmonton, but a really solid team. I love fading them when they have another solid team on deck on the next day versus, the Flyers. The Flyers really don't, I don't think they give much concern to teams out there, right? Like, the Flyers are good, but they're not Vegas. So that's where I look with this one, you guys. I really do think we can see this one come in nicely. So, and you look at the Wild, they are strong off those bounce backs, but I think they're in a slump right now. I'm not buying on them here, especially with Vegas on deck tomorrow. Let's talk about Vegas, you guys. Vegas will take on the Edmonton Oilers tonight. The Edmonton Oilers are minus 152 favorite here at home. Vegas has won the first 2 matchups of the season between these two, and they're coming in at plus 126. It's tempting to bite on the Vegas Golden Knights in this one. Mark Stone back in this lineup. This team has been clicking. They've won their last 4. They're playing hot out there. Yes, Edmonton off the win versus the Wild, where they were able to put up 7 goals. We got a total 6.5, which is interesting. It's -120 to the under. It's -102 to the over. I'm tempted to take this one over, but I think I'll just look at the first period. We look at the last game these two teams played. It was in Vegas. Vegas was able to shut down Edmonton, winning that 1-0. And then in Edmonton, there was a 4-2 win by the Vegas Golden Knights. So we are seeing more goals in Edmonton. You guys know I still don't trust Stuart Skinner in net. I don't know what he's going to have to do to prove himself to me, because I always just wait for that shoe to drop, right? With Skinner, with those terrible, terrible shots being allowed in by him. So I think in this one, you just look at this one, first period, we see those goals to come in. Edmonton knows that they have to get up quick on the Vegas Golden Knights. They were shut out in the last meeting versus them. They're going to want to get on the board. And yes, I do think they lock down and play strong defense, but I think this one squeaks over. And I think it squeaks over because we have the possibility of going to overtime. You guys, I'd look at the overtime bet in this. I do think we got a 3-2 game in that third period, and it looks like the over is dead in the water. And then one of these teams ties it up, pushes us to overtime, puts us in that situation where we're going over that total of 6.5 because of OT. So I will bet this one to go to overtime. I think it goes over the total, but I'm going to look at the first period over 1.5 at -136. I think we get 2 fast goals in the first. The second locks down. The third is where we're going to sweat the full game to the over. Okay, the Montreal Canadiens taking on the Winnipeg Jets. Now, current odds on this one. Montreal, a +215 here on the money line. The Winnipeg Jets, almost a $3 favorite at -265. This total sitting at 5.5, -138 to the over 5.5. Looking at this matchup, Sam Montembeault is expected here for Montreal and Connor Hellebuck for the Winnipeg Jets. I do think Winnipeg is going to be able to score on on Sam Montembeault in this game. I'm going to look at the Winnipeg Jets team total. That team total coming in at 3.5, the over 3.5 at -122. They're off the overtime loss versus the Vegas Golden Knights, 3-2 in their last game out. They're at the Sharks on Tuesday. This team is first in the Central. I have a hard time thinking that the Montreal Canadiens will be able to slow down the Winnipeg Jets in this game. We know how strong Winnipeg is on that power play. Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele. These playmakers have been lighting the lamp any given night, and I do think here Montreal's defense just won't have enough in the tank to slow them down. Now, I know Patrick Laine, Cole Caulfield, we've got playmakers here for Montreal as well, and I do think with how they played the Winnipeg Jets, this will be a game that they can cover that puck line. The problem is I want more value. So right now on the puck line for the Montreal Canadiens, we're getting +1.5 at -120. I want plus money. You guys, I think the Winnipeg Jets can go up, and then Montreal fights in this battle. They're a never say die kind of team. The young talent out there is phenomenal. So I want the Winnipeg Jets to go up, and then us come back in on the Montreal Canadiens at +1.5 when we're getting, +100, +120. And we will see that movement in that line as soon as Winnipeg gets that goal or goes up in this game. Winnipeg has been strong off of overtime games as well. You guys winning their last 5 off of overtime. But yeah, Montreal has covered the puck line in the last 4 versus the Winnipeg Jets. I think we got a higher scoring game. I think the Winnipeg Jets can go over their team total 3.5, but I think this 4-3 style game. So if you just want to jump on the over, it's crazy that this is a 5.5. I am shaking my head. If they think Montreal can't score, I don't think they're right. I think Montreal is going to score in this game. So fade Tampa tonight, Tony. Okay, why are we fading Tampa, Tony George? So it's going to be interesting for Tampa in their matchup tonight for sure. Sorry, my mouth isn't working. Tampa, yeah, versus the Kraken. That Kraken team has been relatively hot, right? You're leaning on the Jets on the puck line. I could see them covering the puck line for sure. Last 3 games, Fleury played the Flyers. It's gone to overtime. That is a great, Dawson. I love that look there with Marc-Andre Fleury and the Minnesota Wild, that game to go to overtime. Injured and beat up. Yeah, they are injured, beat up on the end of a road trip. You're so right, Tony. And you look at the Seattle Kraken. I keep betting against the Seattle Kraken, and they keep winning. So Tony is definitely onto something there. So let's move to the next game, you guys. We are going to talk the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Detroit Red Wings. I tried to put Toronto and Red Wings and Detroit all into one name for one team. There are 2 teams, you guys. Toronto versus Detroit. Let's look at the lines here over on FanDuel. Just let me find this game. I was looking at that one. -188 for the Toronto Maple Leafs, +155 for the Detroit Red Wings. We're seeing movement in this line. The Red Wings earlier in the day were +142. This total is sitting at 5.5. -142 to the over 5.5. So it's getting really juicy. I do expect the books to move this line at some point. I think the Red Wings have the opportunity here versus the Toronto Maple Leafs to get the win. We're seeing them here at home, and this is a team that they are limiting their opponent's ability to get those high danger shots. They have held 4 of their last 5 opponents to 8 or less high danger shots in those matchups. And I think this is one where they can do the same thing. They've got to give that support to Husso in net tonight, and I really do think this defense will do that. Toronto is expected to start Joseph Woll here. Now, they're off that 3-2 win versus the Ducks. That doesn't impress me much. And it's the first night of their back-to-back situation. They're home tomorrow versus the Sabres. So I do think Toronto rolls in here expecting to get a nice win over Detroit. I just don't think it happens. You know the price is always just so high on the Toronto Maple Leafs. I would have looked at this one. I would have thought this would have been, -120 here for the Leafs. I think we're overpaying looking at them. So the value is on the Red Wings, and that's where I'm going to go. Home dog here in the Detroit Red Wings. They are off a stupid loss to the Flyers. We were on them in that last game versus the Flyers, and they weren't able to get things done. They were only able to put up 1 goal and allowed 4 by the Flyers. So I do think this one is a higher scoring game. I do think Toronto will put a couple goals on the board as well as Detroit. So the over 5.5, I hate the juice. I would take it. I would open that line over 6.5. I do think we can see 7 goals in this one. Get that plus money there. But yeah, the Red Wings here at home at +155. And I know Toronto loves to play that lockdown defensive style of game, but I think the Red Wings can get those goals on them tonight. Let's look at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh taking on Ottawa. The Senators in action tonight at home are a -140 favorite here. The Pittsburgh Penguins at +116 and the total sitting at 6.5. Now -114 to the under, -106 to the over. Allmark played fantastic for us last night, you guys. They were able to get the win 3-0. Okay, why didn't the Canes do their share? We had the exact score. Kev, you threw that exact score out, 3-2. I loved it. I had the Canes team total under 3.5, the Sens team total over 2.5. So we needed those 2 goals and we need the overtime win, but we still got the Ottawa Senators being able to pull off that upset win. We got them over their team total of 2.5. So it was a good night to see them be able to get that shutout. Allmark is looking fantastic, and this is exactly why the Ottawa Senators brought him in. Over his last 6 games now, he's played fantastic. He's got a goals against average under 2, but we won't see him tonight because it's the second night of a back-to-back. Anton or Forsberg expected here for the Ottawa Senators, and Tristan Jarry expected for the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins, can they capitalize on tired legs here of the Ottawa Senators on the second night of a back-to-back? They have the opportunity, and we are getting the value with the Pittsburgh Penguins at +116. But you guys, I just think I have to go over in this game. The over coming in at 6.5 at -106. I do think the Sens, after traveling and facing the Canes, such a strong performance out of them, have some lapses tonight defensively and allow the Pittsburgh Penguins to put some goals on the board. But I do think Ottawa comes in with that confidence too and is able to score on Tristan Jarry. We know the defense and goaltending has been an issue here for the Pens. So I'm going to look here at the over 6.5 We have seen the Ottawa Senators lose their last 6 home games versus a Metro opponent. So this is a Metro opponent here in the Pittsburgh Penguins. So if you want to look at the Penguins, that does give you a nice stat to jump on them. But I'm just going to take the over. I really would love to see Ottawa continue to roll strong. Just not sure if they're able to get it done in this one. You guys, let's make some freaking money today. Yeah, it was close, but we still cashed. We cashed yesterday, but man, I tell you, I just want the Canes to get those 2 goals. I wish we had Allmark for the shutout. We knew he was going to come in strong and would be the reason why the Ottawa Senators were able to get the win. So I just didn't see the shutout coming. Versus Carolina, it's just incredible for him. Let's look at the Buffalo Sabres. They are taking on the Washington Capitals. Now, the Capitals minus 184 here on the money line. The Buffalo Sabres at plus 152. Total at 6.5. We got the juice to the total on the under. We're seeing strong trends for Buffalo in the first period. Now, when we look at this game with the amount of juice you have to lay on the Washington Capitals, I do think they get the win. The Buffalo Sabres have lost their last 8, so they've been playing terrible out there on the ice. But what this team has been doing, they've been getting up in these games, and then I don't know what the heck happens to them. They completely fall apart. I do think that they get up again in that first period. Logan Thompson expected here for the Washington Capitals. Lang again expected for the Buffalo Sabres. Now, Tom Wilson has been strong versus the Sabres. So if you want to look at someone for that anytime goal for the Washington Capitals, Tom Wilson definitely is your playmaker. He's scored a goal in each of his last 3 games versus the Buffalo Sabres. So that's your playmaker there. But Tage Thompson, Alex Tuch coming in here for the Sabres. I think they find the back of the net. They find the back of the net in the first period and can win that first period, get us that plus money on the money line. But then I want to come back in on the Washington Capitals because I think they end up at the end of the day winning this one at home. If you just want to look at the Washington Capitals in regulation here, they should be able to get it done in reg. Again, the Buffalo Sabres have lost their last 8 games. It's not a pretty team to bet on right now. You've been losing money left, right, and center, and I just can't do anything more than that first period. Like, there's been games they've gone up 4-0 in the first period and then lost the game 5-4. It's just mind-blowing what this team has been doing out there on the ice. So I will take that first period for Buffalo and then come back in on Washington to win it all. The Anaheim Ducks take on the Columbus Blue Jackets, 7 p.m. Eastern start for this one. The Ducks are maybe quacking, coming in here at plus 150, minus 182 for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Total of 6.5, minus 122 to the under. Now, John Gibson is in net tonight. Well, at least expected here. Not Dostal for the Anaheim Ducks. The Ducks defense has been really locking down out there on the road, but I don't know how much I trust John Gibson in net. Jet Greaves is confirmed here for the Columbus Blue Jackets. He's had 1 game. That was versus the St. Louis Blues this season. He stopped 22 of 23 shots on goal. So that was a really strong performance. Can he have it again here versus the Ducks? I would think so, because you look at this Ducks team and their offense isn't putting up a ton of high danger shots. So I do think with both of these teams, we can see Columbus locked down defensively, the Ducks locked down defensively, but I don't trust John Gibson. So looking at the Columbus Blue Jackets, yes, they've had their struggles. They're off that overtime loss to the Washington Capitals, but they held the Capitals to only 2 goals in that matchup. This defense has been playing strong. I think Columbus is the right side. I think Columbus in the first period is where you want to go. Columbus in the first period laying a half a goal on that. Puck line's coming in at plus 142. And they've been solid versus the Pacific in their last 4, covering that puck line in the first period. So they've been strong in this situation. I like them here first period. And then it's the first night of a back-to-back. So are the Ducks quacking? Because the Columbus Blue Jackets have the Canes tomorrow. This is the team that's sitting 8th in the Metro, the 3rd team in the Metro, the Carolina Hurricanes. On deck tomorrow, the Ducks could be quacking. The Ducks have already beaten the Columbus Blue Jackets. It was earlier this month, 4-2. So the Ducks have that recency. They have that momentum coming into this game, that confidence that they can beat Columbus. I think they fight their way back. Jet Greaves, I think he's solid. I don't think it's as high scoring for the Ducks if they win it. But I do think the Ducks have every opportunity after that first. So what I'm going to do here, you guys, this will be a live betting situation for myself. If you just want to put a little bit of money on the Ducks right now, I don't blame you, but I'm going to take the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first period on that puck line at plus 142. Once they win or go up in that first period, I will come back in on the Ducks for more value, because right now the Ducks plus 150, and it keeps ticking up. It was plus 145 when I woke up this morning. Last night it was plus 140. So we are seeing more value. And if this game plays out as I expect, where Columbus is able to light the lamp, hit John Gibson quick in that first period, we're going to see the move to like a plus 250 underdog here. So that's what I want for the Anaheim Ducks. If you're ever betting the Ducks, you always want as much value as you can get. So that's where I'd go in this one, you guys. Okay, the St. Louis Blues are taking on the Dallas Stars. Current lines on FanDuel, the St. Louis Blues at plus 190 here. Wow, that is a lot of value. On the St. Louis Blues, you know we got the playmakers on this team. I love the defense. We got the Dallas Stars coming in here at minus 235. Total of 5.5 minus 134 to the over in this one. Now, this is a battle of the Central. St. Louis Blues 6th in the Central, the Dallas Stars 3rd in the Central, and we've got strong goaltending. Binghamton expected here for St. Louis and Jake Ottinger for the Dallas Stars. Now, I know strong goaltenders and strong offenses out of both of these teams and strong defenses. A lot of people would look at this one and say, you got to take it over because of what these offenses are able to do. And I can't get there. I really do think these goaltenders will have a complete duel out there. I think Jordan Binghamton will be able to really limit the ability of the Dallas Stars to find the back of his net. So I'm looking for him to stand tall in the pipes tonight, and I think he's able to. And Jake Ottinger here at home should be able to do the same. Now, St. Louis has been strong at bouncing back off of losses. They're coming off that loss. They won their last 4 off of a loss. They locked down on that defensive side of things. So I'm going to take this one under, you guys. The under 5.5, just let me get those odds here again, is plus 110. So we're not seeing any movement on that. It was plus 110 earlier as well. I'm expecting it to stay under. I think you can look at the first period under 1.5 goals as well. Now, Robert Thomas has been able to score out there on the road. He's been strong for them. I like Jake Neighbors as well. And you know the Dallas Stars have so many playmakers. But again, when I'm looking at an under, I'm not going to be looking at those player props like I do when I'm expecting a higher scoring game. Let's talk about a game that could be higher scoring. The Nashville Predators taking on the Colorado Avalanche. The Avs are a minus 170 favorite. I was expecting them to be a bigger favorite in this matchup versus the Preds. The Preds at plus 140. Total 6.5, you guys. We got the juice to the under 6.5 at minus 134. I was actually shocked that the books had that as well. Saros expected here for the Predators, and Mackenzie Blackwood expected to make his debut tonight for Colorado. This is absolutely fantastic. Blackwood was so strong with the Sharks, you guys. I'm excited to see him out there with the Avs. Now, the Avs still allow their goaltenders to take those shots. I would expect them to lock down a little bit more defensively tonight in this matchup. They've got off to some slow starts, but I can't see this being a game where they get off to a slow start versus Saros and the Nashville Predators. So I'm going to stay off the first period look in this game. I'm just going to look at the Nashville Predators to struggle to score on Blackwood tonight. Blackwood has been outstanding out there, so I'm taking the Predators team total over 2 or under 2.5. Sorry for that slip, at minus 106. I think this one could go over still, though, if they only score, even if they only score those 2 goals, because of what Colorado should be able to do in this game. I think there is an additional confidence out there by the offense in this one and by the defense with Blackwood in the net. So I'm looking to stay off this total. I'm only going to isolate the Preds team total under the 2.5. And then I think Colorado wins this and they win it nicely. Now, they've struggled to cover that puck line at home. I know that, but I'm still looking at that puck line, minus 1.5 at plus 144. I think they win this either 5-2 or 5-0. And that's the thing with the Preds. If they don't get any goals themselves, it won't push us over this total. So that's why I'm just looking at their under. I would look at the Avs team total to the over. Could they get up and lock down defensively? Yes, but I think they need a big statement win here. Predators team total. Yeah, you got to look at that team total under 2.5 for sure. Okay. Next game on deck, the Florida Panthers versus the Calgary Flames. This is going to be interesting, you guys. Huberdeau and Tkachuk on different teams. They've faced each other so many times since that trade, but Huberdeau has been strong as of late for Calgary. Calgary, a nice underdog here at home at plus 152. Dustin Wolf expected to get the start for them. Bobrovsky expected here for the Florida Panthers, who are rolling in off a shutout loss versus the Vancouver Canucks. I still can't believe they got shut out in that one with Demko in goal. So minus 184 here for the Florida Panthers. Total 5.5. Minus 120 to the over 5.5. We've seen some movement in that line. I do think Calgary is able to score in this one on Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky has been allowing those goals to come in, and the defense, while we can see a lockdown here of Florida, I think in this one, they got Edmonton on deck. They're coming up the game versus Vancouver. Definitely the weaker team in the Pacific that they're facing right now because it's Vancouver, Calgary, and Edmonton. We know Calgary would be the weaker link of those three teams. So while the Florida Panthers are looking to bounce back really hard, I think Calgary still puts up some goals in this one. I'm going to look at their team total. Their team total over 2.5 coming in at minus 106. I wanted some more value in this one. And I do think watching this line to see if it moves within the first 5-10 minutes of this game, as Calgary hasn't scored, hasn't got those shots on goal, we're going to see more value. So I don't only just watch for those puck lines and the money lines and the more value in these games. I also watch for those team totals when I'm liking a team total and want some more value on that. So that's where I would look. We have seen the Florida Panthers get off to slow starts, though. So that is a little bit of a concern. They have been struggling to win those first periods, but they seem to fight back when they get down. So Calgary goes up at first. We will get more value on the Florida Panthers in this one for the live betting situations. But I'm going to look at Matthew Tkachuk to find the back of Dustin Wolf's net tonight. And then I'm going to look at Huberdeau. Huberdeau has been so strong at home. He scored a goal in the last 3 home games here for Calgary. So I definitely think Huberdeau and Tkachuk are going to battle it out. I think Calgary can go over the 2.5 goals. And yeah, slow start maybe for the Florida Panthers, but hopefully not. The Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Seattle Kraken. Tony George threw out to fade the Tampa Bay Lightning today, and I couldn't agree more. The Lightning are minus 132 here on the money line, and this team is facing a Seattle Kraken team that has been impressing as of late, even though I've been betting against them. I can't believe how strong they've come out in some of these games. They're plus 110 here at home, and you got to think that they can get it done today versus the Tampa Bay Lightning at the end of that road trip. So we got a total of 6.5. It's minus 120 to the under in this one. I don't know if this one stays under the total. We know the Seattle Kraken have been allowing those goals to come in. It's minus 102 to the over, and that's where I'm going to go. Joey Daccord expected here for Seattle, and Vasilevsky for the Tampa Bay Lightning. This team has won their last 7 versus the Pacific. They have been rolling hot. They've been getting those goals on the board. But you look at the Seattle Kraken, they're 8-0 on the puck line as a dog in their last 8. They've been playing strong. Jared McCann has been very strong versus the Lightning, too. He's got a goal in 3 of the Kraken's last 4 versus Tampa Bay Lightning. So he definitely is circled for me tonight for that anytime goal. But yeah, home dog here in the Seattle Kraken, I do think is the best bet. Tony George, you were absolutely dead on spot with this one. If you guys don't know Tony George, he's over at Doc Sports, so go on over and give him a follow. But yeah, it's Seattle all day, and I know a couple of you will be happy because I've been betting against Seattle as of late. Let's look at the Boston Bruins versus the Vancouver Canucks. The Boston Bruins are coming in here at plus 112 on the money line. Vancouver Canucks off that nice shutout win over the Florida Panthers 4-0. They're minus 134 here at home. Total of 5.5, minus 118 to the over, minus 104 to the under. I think we got to look at a storyline here. Jake DeBrusk, who was with Boston for like how many seasons? It seems like absolutely forever. I believe it was 7 seasons with the Boston Bruins. He's now with Vancouver. And I do think you look at that angle, Jake DeBrusk for the anytime goal. We know he's been playing strong out there for the Vancouver Canucks. And I do think he has one of those days. Now, I'm looking at the first period, though. I'm looking for a lockdown in this one, especially in the first period. I just have to get those odds for you. The first period under 1.5 is where I'm going to go, and I just can't remember what the value was on the first period under. Yeah, it's minus 116. Under 1.5 in the first period in this one. So I'm definitely going to be hitting on that going into this, but I do think you look at Jake DeBrusk to come out nice and strong in this game, be able to get that goal on his old team. I think Vancouver has every opportunity of getting another win here. They're going to have so much momentum. And you look at the Boston Bruins, they're coming in off that loss to Seattle. They've been strong on the puck line versus the Pacific, but I think this is one, it could be, 3-1, 3-2 style game. So I don't really love a puck line for either side of it for Vancouver, but I'm looking at Vancouver here, minus 134 on that money line. The last game is the Utah Hockey Club taking on the San Jose Sharks. We talked about Mackenzie Blackwood making his debut hopefully tonight for Colorado, and that means Georgiev is expected here too for the San Jose Sharks, who was traded from Colorado to here. I'm looking at Georgiev to come out nice and strong versus Utah, but I still think those goals will come in. We know Utah has been able to put up those goals. I will take the San Jose Sharks though here for the win at home. Now the line right now is plus 150 for the San Jose Sharks, and I think they can win this in overtime. That overtime bet coming in at plus 330 for the Sharks in this game. Total 5.5. It could stay under that 5.5. I'm thinking 3-2 win for the Sharks. So the overtime value is hitting us, and it's actually good value in this one. The overtime bet is at plus 310. It was more. You guys, we were getting like plus 360 for overtime in this game when I looked last night. So interesting to see the books have moved it to plus 310. Celebrini has been strong here for the Sharks. Clayton Keller is your playmaker you want to look at for Utah. Tyler Toffoli for the Sharks as well. So we've got playmakers on both sides, but I think it's a lower scoring game, staying under that total. So you guys, that is all of the games on deck. Let's do a quick recap of these games. We're going to recap it pretty quick here. I hope you guys all have a wonderful Saturday, and I really appreciate you guys for tuning in on the daily here over on SportsGrid TV on X for Puckett with Jo. So the Chicago Blackhawks are taking on the New Jersey Devils. I love the Devils to be able to get the win and cover the puck line. There's just not enough value in this one for me at minus 1.5 at minus 152. I can't hit on it. If you start to get more value as the day goes on, that's where I'd be looking at the Devils on that puck line. You could look at the adjusted puck line laying 2.5 and get some great plus money. Dougie Hamilton I have circled though for the anytime goal here for the New Jersey Devils. He's been able to score that first goal versus the Chicago Blackhawks in 3 of his last 4 appearances versus Chicago. So if you want to look at him first goal, I believe it's plus 1,800. I'm going to take him for a little bit on that and for that anytime goal. The first goal is such a long shot, though, you guys. The LA Kings versus the New York Rangers. I do think this game stays under that total of 5.5. And even though the Kings have struggled in Madison Square Garden, I think they can win this in a 2-1 style game. This game has the opportunity of going to overtime. Now, because I'm looking at such a low scoring game, I'm not going to take player props, but Riley Smith would be the playmaker and Panarin would be the playmakers I'd look at for the Rangers, and Kempe for the LA Kings because of how strong he has been as well. The Philadelphia Flyers versus the Minnesota Wild. I do think we have the upset in the making here with the Philadelphia Flyers in a higher scoring game. The Minnesota Wild have Vegas on deck tomorrow, so I do think it's a look-ahead situation for them in this matchup. I'll take the Flyers to win this one on the money line and this one to go over that total of 6.5. The Vegas Golden Knights taking on the Edmonton Oilers. First period, give me the over 1.5 at minus 136. We have seen Vegas win the first two matchups, and they're dogs, so it's so tempting to take Vegas to come in here and get the win, especially when Edmonton was at that one-off road game versus Minnesota. Got a big win, 7-1. I think this one has the opportunity of going to overtime as well, so I would look at that line. We are seeing more goals come into play when they face up in Edmonton. We've already seen this matchup twice. Vegas was able to hold Edmonton to no goals in their last game. They only scored 1-0, but that was in Vegas. The game in Edmonton was a 4-2 win for the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm expecting Vegas with Mark Stone on the ice to put up those goals on Stuart Skinner. Again, I still don't trust him. So first period over 1.5. I think we're going to sweat this one. Overtime, definitely in this game, but I think we'll sweat the over 6.5 for the full game. That's why I just want to jump in on the over 1.5 for the first period. The Montreal Canadiens versus the Winnipeg Jets. I want more value on the Montreal Canadiens, plus 1.5 on that puck line. They've been strong at covering that puck line. I think the Winnipeg Jets over 3.5 goals is in play in this at minus 122. But you look at Montreal, this team, I do think, battles back in so many of these games if the Winnipeg Jets go up in the first period, which I'm expecting them to. So if you want to look at the Winnipeg Jets first period puck line, laying a half a goal, I think it's a really strong way. This team is off of an overtime game, but they're strong in those situations. They're at home. I expect them to put out at least one goal in that first period. And then over 3.5 for the full game, because Sam Montague and the defense here of Montreal isn't going to provide much resistance for this power play, especially of the Winnipeg Jets. So looking at Winnipeg, but I do think Montreal puts up their share of the goals and can keep this game within a goal. So that's where I'm going. Toronto versus Detroit. I think there's not enough value with Toronto ever. You know, the books always juice them. They know the money's going to come in no matter what. They're minus 188 on the money line. The Detroit Red Wings here at home, I think, are a sleeping, not a sleeping dog, a barking dog out there. It's Saturday morning, you guys. Come on, I don't know why I said sleeping dog. So I think they can be strong here at home, be able to get the win. I love what their defense has been doing, not allowing those high danger shots to come in on their goaltending. Now, Husso and net, they're going to really need to lock down here on the Toronto Maple Leafs. So give me the Detroit Red Wings on the money line to get the win at home. The Pittsburgh Penguins versus the Ottawa Senators. The Senators did a fantastic job all marking net last night versus the Carolina Hurricanes out there on the road, winning 3-0. I'm looking for the Ottawa Senators to allow some goals by the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight. I think tired legs on defense will come in this game. I'm going to take this one over 6.5. I could see a way that the Pittsburgh Penguins are able to get the win, especially with the second night of the back-to-back here with the Ottawa Senators. We're seeing the Penguins off that 9-2 win versus Montreal. They were able to get those goals. I think the over 6.5 is the best bet. The Buffalo Sabres versus the Washington Capitals. Buffalo has been able to get up in the first period, but they fall apart in these games. They've lost their last 8 games now, you guys. The Buffalo Sabres, a couple of seasons ago, what did they go? 12 or 13 games before they broke a losing streak. I have to check on what that was. I think we hit them on game number 13 to be able to get the win. We played them against an opponent in a terrible scheduling spot. I'm just not looking at this as being that terrible scheduling spot where the Washington Capitals can't get the win. I'm looking for Buffalo to go up in the first period and the Washington Capitals to come back and win this game. So live betting situation here with the Washington Capitals when you're getting more value on them, because no value on that money line right now. The Anaheim Ducks versus the Columbus Blue Jackets. I'm looking at the first period here for the Columbus Blue Jackets on the puck line. Laying a half a goal, it's plus 142. I do think they can get up in this one. I don't trust John Gibson in net for the Anaheim Ducks. He has been allowing those goals to come in. But I think this is one where the Ducks could be quacking here. They come in with that confidence after beating Columbus earlier this month, 4-2. And it's the first night of a back-to-back with the Columbus Blue Jackets having a divisional matchup on deck tomorrow with the Carolina Hurricanes. So I'm going to look here at the Ducks to come back, but I'm going to get the value once Columbus goes up in that first period, because that's how I think it plays out. If I miss it, I miss it. So I would rather jump in at like plus 250 for the Ducks and plus 150. The St. Louis Blues and the Dallas Stars, I think we have a defensive battle. Both of these goaltenders standing tall in their nets between Jordan Binnington and Jake Ottinger. Give me the under 5.5 at +110. The Nashville Predators and the Colorado Avalanche, I'm fading the Preds. I'm fading their ability to get these goals with Mackenzie Blackwood expected in net tonight. Now, if Mackenzie Blackwood's not in, I'm just going to stay off of this game. But with him expected, I'll take the Preds under 2.5 goals at -106. You guys, when I'm looking at an under in this and I'm basing it on a goaltender, please make sure that you check the confirmation of those goaltenders going into the afternoon games, because we know a lot of confirmation still not here in the morning, but we will get confirmation later. So again, if Blackwood is not in net, I would stay off the Preds under 2.5, but I love it under 2.5 with him making his debut here for Colorado. Colorado, I think, will cover the puck line as well. I would lay the 1.5 on that puck line with the Avs. Saros, I just don't trust him in goal here for the Preds. The Florida Panthers taking on the Calgary Flames. I think this is one where Calgary can put up some goals on the Florida Panthers. I'm going to take Calgary's team total over 2.5. It's coming in at -106. I'm going to hope for the Florida Panthers to have a little bit of a slow start for Calgary to be able to do this. So Bobrovsky in goal. Now we have Dustin Wolf expected here for the Florida Panthers. I think Matthew Tkachuk will hit Wolf in this one, and Huberdeau should be able to hit Bobrovsky. So those are the two players I'm looking at for those goals. The Tampa Bay Lightning and the Seattle Kraken. I am looking at Tampa to struggle in this one, but still put up some goals on Joey Decord. I'm looking at this game to go over that total of 6.5. Seattle home dog at +110. Sign me up. The Boston Bruins and the Vancouver Canucks. I think Vancouver is able to get the win in a lower scoring game. I'm going to take the first period under 1.5, but I love Jake DeBrusk to be able to get that anytime goal here on his former team. And then Utah versus San Jose. The Sharks are whatever noise the Sharks do when they are barking. The Sharks, I think, can get the win. Lower scoring game, 3-2. Georgiev expected here. I think this one is overtime. Again, we've seen those lines move from +380 to +310. So we're losing value in the overtime. You guys know I love an overtime bet at +310. I think the Sharks definitely get it done today. But big shout out to each and every one of you. Thank you so much to everyone that is here today. I'm seeing so many people tuning in across all of the platforms. So thank you so much, you guys, for being here. We have over 2,000 between all three platforms. So thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Drop in the comments, firstly, who you're liking today, where you're watching from, and let me know who you think is going to take the cup this year. Let's start looking at those futures, you guys. I appreciate you so much for being here. We'll see you tomorrow on Puck It with Jo.
Hit some anytime goal scorers as well as safe